All right, we are back coming to you live from
home.
The hotel.
Home.
Yeah, but I don't want to say the hotel.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want a mob of people.
Yeah, it's not my place to do it. You know, if the UFC does it, if whatever is fine. Billy Q, what's up?
Randy, Matt, great to have you. Great to be here.
Yeah, we're on your show. This is your show now. Yeah, we're in your hometown.
I knew when the UFC was coming to Tampa. I figured we'd have a nice chat. I had a great chance talking to you guys a couple weeks ago, and it's just been a great process, and it's just awesome being here now. The co-main event, so super exciting, man.
What's that like, co-main in your town? I mean, you run this place. We know that your coaching staff, your team, and everything. That's Tampa.
Yep. Yeah, it feels like I'm home. Like after this, I'm probably gonna drive back to my house, which is about 15 minutes away or less. And, get this weight cut process, continuing and just going through the motions, man. And this is my 11th UFC fight. So it feels really comfortable to be here. But at the end of the day, like I know what I have to do on Saturday, and that's to go out there and deliver a great performance. Before
I forget, Justin Jacoby just walked out. He said he's a huge Cowboy fan, but he's kind of mingled over to the Buffalo Bills. And I said, you do know to be indoctrinated, you have to go through a table. Yeah. And he wants you to put him through the table?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's a big boy.
I said that to him. He's like, I think Billy can do it.
Yeah, if he lets me pick him up, I think I can handle that. That's awesome. Dustin's a great guy. I've known him for a while now. We've shared a card, at least 2 or 3 cards that we've been on together. He's met my family. They're all big Dustin Jacoby fans. So he's a good dude. He could be Bill's Mafia if he wants. And we'll invite him on over, and we can go through a table together if he wants.
How do you earn that, especially when you've been a fan of another team so long? I mean, I hate the word bandwagon. Yeah. Obviously it takes the team you like not doing well, or a player, leaving that team to go somewhere else. As a Buffalo Bill fan, I know Buccaneer fans, they don't necessarily like when people come over.
Yeah.
But how do you continue the fan base if you don't let new fans come?
Well, and that's something that I've dealt with, especially for this fight, because we wanted to do a lot of extra stuff and do stuff with the Buccaneers, which the Buccaneers have actually invited me out. They got me a jersey and all that stuff. But I told them from day one, I'm like, listen, I grew up a Bills fan. Like, I'm not switching teams. You know what I mean? And I do feel like you have one team. That's the Bills for me because that's where I grew up. I love the Buccaneers. That I joke that they're my second favorite team. Sure. I live 2 minutes away from the stadium there. But yeah, for me, it's you should stick with the team that you grew up. Either you grew up watching. Like for me, growing up in Buffalo, especially as a kid, them going to and losing all those Super Bowls, and now they've had a lot of success, but they still haven't won the Super Bowl. So for me, that's like one of the things in the back of my mind. Like that's going to be a huge moment for the city and for me and my family, if and when they go and do that. I'm Bills fan until I die, but at the same time, I do love the Bucs and appreciate what they do.
How painful would it be if the Bills get there and lose to Detroit? They get there again.
Yeah. That's honestly there. It would just be like par for the course.
Yeah, because it's expected.
That's what we. Yeah,
that's a standard.
City. And they're our number one team. We have is the Bills and the Sabres in Buffalo. We don't have an NBA team, and the Sabres have been pretty terrible too. But the Bills, they're more like, I think they're a more popular team. For me, they're more popular. I grew up watching hockey too. But yeah, that would just be like a standard thing. But hopefully, if it's not this year or next year, it's hopefully down the road.
Needs to be soon.
They finally get one. Yeah.
So Dustin's from Denver. Obviously, UFC originated in Denver. So big fight city, Vegas, Atlantic City, you could name them. Yep. But Tampa seems, I don't know about how you feel on the road, but it seems like Tampa's kind of getting on the map as being a fight community with the Jake Paul fighting here and big attractions like UFC coming, bare knuckle. So how does it feel to you on the road when you tell people you fight out of Tampa? How are you received with that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's I think we have a lot of big things happening here. Obviously, as you guys know, the city's absolutely beautiful. Yesterday, people couldn't believe how nice it was here. It's definitely a really cool place to come and visit because it's not like a huge city where you're it's not overwhelming. I don't really know if there's any tourist traps here, but I just think it's just a really cool city. And at my team, Gracie Pack, the gym that I own now, we got a lot of young up and coming guys who've done some pretty good things. I know the CFFC continues to come here, and give us a new platform to fight, which is on UFC Fight Pass. I think I've said this for the last couple of years that I think in the next few years, especially when I'm done and retired, there's going to be a big group of fighters that are going to eventually get to this point too. Talk
about your opponent, Cub Swanson, OG, been in the sport a long time. How do you block out all of that, and especially after what happened last Saturday? 3 older veterans fought, didn't do very well. Yeah. Do you have to block all that out? This fight's totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know he's 41 years old now. I just turned 36, so I'm not a spring chicken either. He's been in just wars, wars on wars on wars. And, but what I've been doing is watching his last few fights against Andre Fili, against Min Hakim, against Martinez, some of his more recent fights. And he doesn't look 41. He looks like he's still got that pep in his step. He still throws very hard punches. He's got good combos, good wrestling. So I'm not really considering, to me, it's not, I'm fighting like this legendary guy that's been there and done that, and he's 41 now. I'm fighting a really good fighter that does have that experience and who hasn't really let off the gas much. You know what I mean? Like he looks very similar to how he looks when he was in the top 5 of the division.
Feeling real old though.
Yeah, you are.
Billy just said that
36.
He's kind of old at 36.
Do you remember 36, Randy?
In the fight game.
Honestly, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't remember 30. I've been married longer than you've been alive.
Do you remember? Do you remember Prohibition? The Civil War.
Right. How do you normally relax, and is it the same that it'll be this week? Are you not able to relax?
It's a combination. All of us, all fighters cut a lot of weight, so I got the whole weight cutting process. It was cool last night. I slept at my house. I slept next to my wife, which was awesome. So that's a cool part of it. But I'm not letting it distract me. I'm not letting it. I'm not losing any focus. Like I'm eating all the food I'm supposed to eat. I'm not eating anything extra. But just sleeping in your own bed's always cool. We'll see. I might end up sleeping here tonight. It's kind of up in the air right now with what kind of media obligations I have the rest of the day. But it's cool to be home. Like I got to play with my kids this morning, which is something I never get to do fight week.
With you being the Tampa guy, I'm curious because I'm the one from day one that's been pushing MMA and the UFC in the Tampa area, Florida, across the country. What other and no other media, no other radio, TV would do this? I'm curious. What other media has reached out to you or have you talked to while you've been here, to help promote you and the sport that we love?
Yeah. So my boy Kevin Lewis, he always reaches out to me. I just saw him downstairs. He's a big, he's been following me and promoting me for a while now. So he's one of the good guys. And of course I talked to you guys, and then there's been just some of the media guys that I know. I know the guys at bjpenn.com, my guy Cole. And those guys, all reached out before the fight. But yeah, I think, I don't know what other local guys are down there now, but it's cool to see that, if you would have told me, 10 years ago that the president of the United States would be at a UFC show, or when I started 15 years ago,
right.
The sport has grown so much, and it's just really cool to be a part of.
There will be, I've been told, a very interesting announcement on Saturday. That's all I can really say regarding the Tampa Bay area. So I'm pretty excited about that as we continue to push, MMA. Talk about your gym. Talk about the guys that you're training with and you train and you represent.
Yeah, absolutely. So I bought the gym, Gracie Pack. I trained at Matt Arroyo's Gracie Tampa South most of my career from 2010 to this day. Still, I still go back and forth. But the guys at Gracie Pack have kind of brought themselves around me. We got Blake Smith, who's the CFFC champion. I got Will Rentz, who I basically brought up from day one. He'll be in my corner. He's 4-2 right now, but his 2 losses were last minute opponent change, and then his first one, he went into the fight with a broken leg, which he didn't even realize it. He's just such a tough dude. He had a fracture in his leg going into the fight. But that's how tough he is. So Will Rentz, Blake Smith are the next up and coming guys. We had Shane Burgos actually join our team, who we had a crazy fight at Madison Square Garden. Having him coaching on Mondays, and he'll be in my corner as well. Bringing all those guys together, there's a bunch of young up and coming guys that are super hungry that I'm leading the way. And then we got another group of guys that are, next up. And there's guys that you'll see in the next few years for sure.
What kind of gym is it? Because some fight gyms are only for fighters. Some gym, they have the kid programs.
Yep.
They have, us old fat people that just want to do it because
Yep.
it's fun. Where's yours fall into that?
Yeah, we have a big mix of it. So when I first took over, it was just it was mostly a kids program. We have an outstanding kids program from 3 years old all the way to teenagers, all the way to our adult program. They have a bunch of the dads train there as well on the jiu-jitsu side, and then I brought over the fight team. So it's a little bit of everything. We still have that identity as we have a great, outstanding kids program, but now we also have this killer fight team too.
Cool.
And I make sure they keep it PG with the kids, and then they have their own separate time to train. We train a little bit after the kids. While after the kids leave, then it turns into more like that fighter gym that you're used to. But we're doing a little bit of everything right now.
Very cool.
So speaking of the nutrition side, obviously the PI out in Vegas is a big draw for fighters to move to Vegas, live close so they can take advantage of all the resources. But what are you guys doing locally as far as incorporating what Dana White's protocols and Gary Brecka's? Are you guys incorporating the biohacking and nutrition into your fight camps, or what's different from the PI versus here?
Yeah. So I use the PI, because I live in Tampa, so it would be impossible for me to, go to the PI every day and get massages
right.
and get all their nutrition. I've always liked to study nutrition just so I didn't always need someone, to tell me what to eat every time. So I had a really good training camp with eating, 4 or 5 times a day, really healthy, smaller meals. Now I'm doing like the water loading, and I'm letting the PI, fuel me this week. With the Gary Brecka stuff, I do a lot of sauna and cold plunging. Pretty much every day I do a cold plunge. I was able to buy my own. I have my own sauna and my cold plunge at my house now.
Nice.
Which is really cool. This training camp, I went to Vitality Wellness in St.
Sure.
They're helping me out with this camp. I was able to do some hyperbaric chambers. So I was doing that kind of stuff. I did, the cryotherapy, my, stretching every day, and just this camp, I just made sure I did everything right. A lot of stuff I didn't want to do. It's like you had a long day training. The last thing you want to do is get in freezing cold water.
No doubt.
But I just made myself do it. And, the hydrogen water, that's something I've always used for the last few years now. And so, yeah, again, man, I just do everything I can do to perform at my highest level on Saturday night.
Do you think the fight fans know what goes into being a pro fighter? Do you think they know the recovery, the commitment, the sourcing, like they are, and they don't give you the respect that you deserve?
In any sport.
In any, well, yeah,
sport, but any sport.
Yeah, no, and that's, I get it, man. Like if I wasn't doing this, we're obsessed with the sports. We get it. Like fight week, it's all, you're cutting weight, you're doing interviews when you're cutting weight, you're doing all this, doing extra obligations. But I get it. Like I still have people DMing me, asking me for tickets, or like asking to hang out. I'm like, dude, I don't have time to do anything. Like I'm cutting weight, I'm working out, I'm doing media. I'm living that life. So I get it that most people are never going to understand it, but it is what it is. And they don't really have to. It's my job as the fighter to do everything I got to do during fight week and go out there and perform on Saturday.
So I made a stupid proposition, my first one I've ever done. Randy knows at one time. But I said that media guys should always go through a fight camp physically so they can feel what it feels like to be a pro fighter. Not that they have to use it, but at least before you criticize or talk about a fighter not making weight or a fighter and their injuries or overcoming social issues or external circumstances, I think media guys should go through the fire, man. Do a full fight camp.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think just the weight cutting is the hardest part. The part and people always ask like, "Oh man, you lost 15 pounds in 1 week. Like, how'd you do it?" I'm like, "You have to do it. Like, I don't have a choice." But yeah, I that would be cool. It was funny. We were just walking through the hotel, and we're seeing everyone eating all like this pasta and bread and chicken. I'm like, oh my god. So it adds a little bit more fuel to the fire and motivation to get on weight and get this over with.
Do you love what you do as much today as you did when you first started?
It's a good question. Sometimes I like joke in my head. I'm like, why am I doing this still? Why am I doing this? But the answer is, yeah, man. Like I live for these. Like just doing like the photos and the interviews and talking about fighting a legend and fighting the co-main event of your hometown. It's stuff that as a kid I dreamed of. I dreamed of living in these big moments. Fighting in a sold out arena that a lot of people are there to see you. See me. So yeah, I always dreamed. When I would fight for a few $100, I would be like, man, I can't wait till I'm doing this stuff. And now that I'm here, it's it's almost surreal, and I don't want to take it for granted. So to answer your question, yeah, I love it. I'm obsessed with it still, and I know I got a handful of fights left, so I'm going to make the most of each one.
Give me your thoughts on, we just talked to Dustin about the same thing. As a judge here in Florida, this drives me crazy. I hate warnings. And the only thing I hate more than a warning is, what is it, a stern warning, a harsh warning? What is all that? If a foul, you grab the fence, you know that it's a point.
Yep.
And it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because, if my opponent does it, I think he should get fouled. But if I do it, it is what it is. Because sometimes you do get caught up in those moments. I know the other day I was sparring, and I was on like the 5th round, and we're banging with each other, and a guy grabbed me to pick me up, and right away I kind of grabbed towards the cage. So sometimes you do it without, sometimes it's just your natural reaction to stuff like that. I do agree with if someone's about to pick you up and you grab the cage and you yank it and you end up on top of him, that you need to either take a point or switch positions or do something. Sometimes things are clearly accidents that don't really change how the fight's going to play out. I can see a warning for that. But a lot of times, again, sometimes you have to be in that position to realize, like, when you're getting punched in the face and the crowd's watching you, you're exhausted. Sometimes things happen that it's easy to sit on the sidelines and say, "Oh man, I can't believe he did that." While you're in there, it's a little bit different. So I think every instance is different. Every play could be different. But I do agree that you got to be careful, because I've been in situations where I'm like, this could change the fight. And instead they got a warning where, if you get hit in the nuts super hard, it's going to change the fight.
Exactly.
It's going to change the fight. So you got to kind of judge it by that.
You also look at the John Jones loss and the Abdul no contest, which was basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So how do you determine everything should be consistent? Because it's changed a lot of things. And I'll disagree, and I love Dana to death. A loss is a loss. You can't go back in time and say, well, just because now it's legal, it was illegal then.
Yeah.
And it's affected many. Some of the newer, younger people are not going to realize what that loss was. Mm-hmm. They're just going to see a loss on the record.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I just want to say this before the thing's ends. Like, you're a local dude. We all know that a gym is only as good as its captain, as its leader, its sensei. But I have, as a father of 2 young daughters that believes jiu-jitsu is most practical self-defense. I think you run a top-notch school, man. I would trust you with my entire family. People, Tampa area, check out your gym, check you out.
Give the info.
It's the best.
Yeah, Gracie Pack. It's right here. It's right here in Carrollwood. If you want to set an appointment, just give us a call or DM us on Instagram. Super easy. Like I said, luckily I have a world-class staff. They're running things this week while I'm gone. They keep sending me pictures and end-of-day reports and stuff like that. So I'm just very lucky to have a really good crew around me, and I think we're going to take things to the next level these next couple of years. Typically,
I give thank you gifts. I know you were just on, so those packages are coming. But this is one of my new sponsors. It's called Fantasy Pets. They're 3D digital pets. Okay. So 1 or 2. How many children do you have?
I got 2 little boys.
Okay, so we're going to send you 2 of these. So awesome. Each one of them is going to get one of these.
My son will absolutely love these things. They're cool looking. Wow, dude, he'll flip out when these come.
So they'll be in the mail sometime next week. Really As always, cool. Bill, thank you for your time. So much, let's go hit a break. Coming to you live from a hotel here in Tampa as the UFC is in our neck of the woods for once. We'll be right back.
All right, boys.
Photo real quick for the banner.